What if I told you that the system is designed for you to work more, consume more, and end up with less? The reality is that modern capitalism has created a paradox. You can earn more money and still become poorer. Because while the numbers go up, real access to a decent life becomes increasingly scarce. It's about looking at the facts. About understanding how a system that promised freedom and growth ended up producing insecurity and debt. Welcome to modern capitalism. The system that lets you feel like you're winning while actually making you poorer. Capitalism is an economic system based on private ownership of the means of production, the pursuit of profit, and the functioning of free markets. In this system, most goods and services are produced by private companies competing with each other. The decisions about what to produce, how to produce it, and for whom are made by the market. That is, supply and demand. In theory, capitalism rewards innovation, effort, and individual merit. The more you produce, the more you earn. The more efficient you are, the more competitive you become. But in practice, the system also tends to concentrate wealth, generate inequality, and prioritize profitability over collective well-being. How does capitalism work? Imagine capitalism is a giant casino you walk in dreaming of winning. There are lights, noise, prizes, promises of success. They tell you that if you play your cards right, you'll walk out rich. And it's true, some people do win. But what no one tells you is that in this casino, the rules were set by the house. The system is designed so the house always wins. You bet your time, your energy, your health, your years. And while you're trying to double your salary, they double their wealth without leaving the table. Sure, you might have a good run, but sooner or later, the system takes its cut. The problem isn't that some people win. The problem is that the game is rigged so that most people lose slowly, thinking they're just about to win. This doesn't happen by accident. It happens because modern capitalism is designed to maximize profits, not distribute them. As technology advances and companies become more efficient, they can produce more with fewer employees. The result? More precarious work. At the same time, large corporations don't share the benefits of that growth with their workers. They reinvest it or simply hoard it. Governments also lower taxes for the richest, allow tax havens, and deregulate key sectors. The result? A system where capital, the money you already have, generates more money than labor does. While you need 8 hours of effort to earn a paycheck, someone else earns the same in interest while sleeping. So, the rich get richer by owning more. And most people are stuck in a cycle of effort without reward. And what happens when a system that rewards competition starts leaving behind those who can't compete? The logic is simple. If you can't compete, the system doesn't wait for you. It leaves you behind. And on top of that, it makes you feel guilty for not having made it. So those who were already on top keep climbing, and those at the bottom keep running in place. Over the last few decades, global productivity has increased, technology has advanced, companies have made record profits. But real wages for most people have stagnated. You work more, you produce more, but your purchasing power stays the same, or even gets worse. Meanwhile, the richest 1% of the population owns more wealth than the remaining 99%. And that gap keeps growing. Let's look at how capitalism operates in practice. If capitalism had a welcome sign, it would say, "Welcome to the American dream." But behind that dream lies a silent nightmare. The United States is, for many, the emblem of modern capitalism. Innovation, giant companies, mass consumption, technological progress. But it's also the country with one of the most brutal inequalities in the developed world. While billionaires rack up figures, millions of workers can't afford rent. In recent decades, average wages have stagnated, while corporate profits have soared. The cost of certain rights that became privileges has risen, but the average worker's salary hasn't kept up. There are things that should be unquestionable: having a place to live, access to clean water, education, and of course, healthcare. In a system where everything has a price, even your physical well-being becomes a product. In extreme capitalism, human rights become premium services, and what should be universal is sold to the highest bidder. Here's the paradox. A country with nearly unlimited resources, but with millions trapped in structural poverty, because in uncontrolled capitalism, the success of a few is built on the precarity of the many. As we can see, one of the system's most perverse traps is making you believe you're doing better, when in fact you're the same, or worse. The technique is called inflation, the sustained increase in prices. But when prices rise faster than your salary, your purchasing power drops, even if your income goes up. So, when they announce a 10% salary increase, but inflation is 15%, they're not giving you more. They're taking away with a smile. This turns many raises into an illusion of progress, a way to calm social tension without changing anything fundamentally. And worse, when wages fall behind prices, you're pushed to borrow more to cover what you used to afford with cash. So, when the system can't offer real stability, what it gives you instead is the illusion of freedom, the ability to consume. It doesn't matter if your real income isn't enough, if your housing is unstable, or if you have no savings, the market tells you you can have it all in installments. That's how consumption is born, from the need to feel validated. You buy things because they make you feel like you're in control. You reward yourself with a new phone, another subscription, an impulse buy. Did you really need that? Or did you just need to feel like you weren't falling behind? Credit cards, loans, buy now, pay later, let you access those things. But they also tie you to a cycle of endless payments. And the most perverse part is that debt becomes a tool of control. When you owe, you have less freedom to choose. You accept anything just to belong. And that's when the system wins. Modern capitalism doesn't need chains to keep you in your place. It just needs you to have debt, fear, and a never-ending wish list. That way, inflation doesn't just empty your wallet, it dilutes your dignity. It makes you grateful for raises that aren't enough, and forces you to live in a race against time, where the system always runs faster than you. Chronic debt, the kind you never really finish paying, turns you into a prisoner of a system that promises freedom, but leaves you with no options. When you're in debt, you can't say no. You live to pay. So much so that today, under modern capitalism, housing has become a luxury product. The price of a home is dozens or even hundreds of times what a person earns in a year. And if you can't buy, you have to rent, at prices that force you to hand over half your salary just to exist. For most people, the only option is to go into debt for 20, 30, even 40 years. A mortgage isn't just a financial tool, it's a sentence to decades of dependence. Housing is no longer thought of as a place to live, but as an investment. And when something so basic becomes a commodity, its price stops reflecting human needs and starts following market rules. Did you know this system led to a financial crisis in 2008? In 2008, financial capitalism showed its worst face. A speculative bubble fed by banks and investment funds formed around subprime mortgages, loans given to people who couldn't pay them, treated as if they were safe assets. When that bubble burst, it took millions down with it, lost jobs, entire families evicted, lifelong savings wiped out. But while ordinary people suffered, the banks responsible were bailed out with public money. No one went to jail. On the contrary, many received million-dollar bonuses. The 2008 crisis wasn't just an economic collapse. It was proof that the system protects those at the top, even if it means sacrificing those at the bottom. And more than a decade later, little has changed. Capitalism doesn't present itself as an enemy. It disguises itself as freedom, opportunity, progress. It promises that if you do the right thing, you'll make it. And while you chase that dream, you run out of time. It's about understanding that the system is designed to benefit a few, while the rest barely survive. Do you think we're stuck in a system that doesn't give back what we put in? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this one. See you next time.